The lights in the arena flickered and then went out entirely, plunging the stunned WWE Universe into darkness. The silence was deafening, almost tangible, pressing against the ribs of every fan like steel. Whispers turned into nervous murmurs as anticipation built. And then, from the shadows, Roman Reigns emerged, walking down the ramp alone. Each step was deliberate, purposeful, and heavy with meaning. There was no music, no pyrotechnics, only the weight of expectation and the sound of Roman's boots echoing through the arena. Every eye followed him. Every camera captured him. Every breath in the crowd seemed to hold for a moment too long. This was not the Roman Reigns of confident smiles and tailored suits. This was the tribal chief exposed, stripped of the armor of invincibility that had protected him for years. The loss at Crown Jewel had shaken the foundation of WWE, leaving him vulnerable in ways the audience had never witnessed. The aura of dominance remained, but now it was coupled with something darker: rage, resolve, and the sharp edge of betrayal. The reckoning begins. Roman paused at ringside, his gaze locking directly into the camera. The crowd hushed, leaning forward as though sensing the weight of what was about to unfold. "You all think you know what goes on behind these walls," he began, his voice low, measured, and dripping with venom. "You think what you see on TV is the whole truth. Tonight, after everything, I am going to show you what you've been blind to. I am going to expose it all." The arena erupted. Shouts, gasps, and a chorus of disbelief echoed from every corner. Roman's words were more than a statement. They were a promise. For the first time, the tribal chief was no longer content to dominate only in the ring. He was stepping into a role that blurred the line between in-ring competition and organizational reckoning. Cameras cut to backstage reactions. Wrestlers froze. Producers whispered urgently. And Paul Heyman, always the strategist, watched with a flicker of unease crossing his usually composed features. "I've held the tribal chief title. I've been the face of loyalty, of strength, of dominance. I've carried this company on my shoulders," Roman continued, his voice rising with controlled fury. "And I've been lied to, undermined, and controlled from behind the scenes." His words hit like cannon fire, reverberating through the arena and into living rooms across the world. Secrets revealed. Roman's accusations pierced deeper than personal betrayal. They exposed a system built on manipulation and hidden agendas. Contracts signed without his knowledge, matches booked to favor certain wrestlers, alliances orchestrated in shadows while he stood in the ring believing in loyalty. He paused, letting the weight of his revelations sink in. Cameras captured the reactions. Wrestlers whispered. Backstage staff turned pale, and even Heyman shifted slightly. Knowing that Roman's words had the potential to destabilize more than just a match, it could reshape the entire WWE hierarchy. Then came the details. The crowd learned that Solo Sikoa's betrayal had been carefully orchestrated, not as a simple act of personal ambition, but as a piece of a larger plan, whispered into the ears of those above. The tribal chief's loss at Crown Jewel was not merely athletic. It had been engineered to undermine him psychologically, socially, and politically. Roman's voice cracked, raw with anger. "They wanted me out. Not just in the ring, but in perception, in trust, in control. But you will see, I will rise again." Social media explodes. As Roman's speech circulated across social media, fans dissected every pause, every glare, every subtle gesture. Clips went viral within seconds. Analysts and wrestling news outlets scrambled to parse each sentence, and speculation about backstage machinations spread like wildfire. Every interaction, every whispered conversation backstage became the subject of endless debate. Fans began piecing together a narrative that went far beyond scripted rivalries, an intricate web of manipulation, betrayal, and strategy that spanned months, if not years. The tribal chief's strategy, Roman, wasn't merely airing grievances. Each word, each revelation, was part of a calculated strategy. He wasn't just seeking justice. He was reclaiming control of the narrative. Every wrestler, manager, and executive who had underestimated him now faced scrutiny. Solo Sikoa, the young enforcer who had been complicit, became a focal point, targeted not only physically in the ring, but psychologically, as Roman's presence shadowed every move. The Usos found themselves navigating a delicate balance, torn between family loyalty and the new hierarchy imposed by a leader who no longer tolerated deceit. Heyman, ever the observer, recognized the magnitude of what was unfolding. His influence had always been about strategy, manipulation, and control. But now even he had to adapt to a storm he could not fully command. Roman's methodical approach transformed every arena, every backstage hallway, every live broadcast into a stage for revelation. Manipulation exposed. Weeks unfolded as Roman meticulously dismantled the carefully constructed illusions that had been built to control him. Interviews became documentaries of betrayal. Behind-the-scenes angles highlighted secret meetings, whispered conversations, and the subtle coercion of talent. Contracts once assumed to be standard now appeared as tools of manipulation. Roman blurred the line between kayfabe and reality, forcing fans to question everything they had witnessed. Every match, promo, and interaction became a microcosm of power, control, and retribution. Consequences for betrayal. The fallout was immediate. Solo Sikoa faced repeated challenges, his every move scrutinized under Roman's relentless gaze. The Usos attempted to mediate, struggling to preserve familial bonds while witnessing the unraveling of the old hierarchy. Roman's words were not empty threats. They were directives backed by action. Betrayal, he made clear, would no longer be tolerated. Every act of manipulation, every hidden alliance, every attempt to undermine him would carry consequences. The WWE Universe Responds fans were captivated. Social media buzzed with speculation and debate. Memes proliferated, theories ran rampant, and every live show carried a sense of tension previously unseen in WWE programming. Analysts dissected each segment, each promo, each physical confrontation. Every stare-down became a symbolic judgment. The tribal chief's aura had evolved. Dominance was no longer solely athletic, but intellectual and psychological, wielded with precision to control perception, loyalty, and fear. The physical campaign, Roman's strategy, was not confined to words. Physical confrontations became an extension of his campaign. Chairs, barricades, and even the ring itself symbolized the consequences of betrayal. Solo Sikoa clashed repeatedly with Roman, each match blending high-stakes athleticism with the emotional weight of broken trust. The Usos were caught in the middle, navigating family loyalty while witnessing the tribal chief's merciless pursuit of accountability. Every encounter became a spectacle of consequence, demonstrating that actions, both in and out of the ring, carried real ramifications. The Puppet Master's Challenge. Even Heyman, with his legendary strategic mind, found himself reacting rather than directing. Roman had seized control of not only the narrative, but the physical landscape of WWE. The exposure campaign was precise, calculated, and unstoppable. Every detail, from promo timing to backstage interactions, reinforced that Roman was no longer simply competing. He was redefining the hierarchy. A new era of accountability. Weeks turned into months, each event escalating the tension and stakes. Matches became allegories for loyalty and betrayal. Every wrestler's career trajectory was influenced by Roman's meticulous scrutiny. Alliances shifted, old bonds broke, and new power structures emerged. Solo Sikoa's repeated defeats and public humiliation underscored the cost of betrayal, while the Usos and other Bloodline members struggled to find their place in a rapid